Hi, this is Charlotte Mayor Anthony Foxx, and welcome to The Point. Today we're going to talk about this concept that you've heard about so much in this community about Charlotte being an energy hub. With me today I have two luminaries of energy in the area, Dave Dalton, who is with GMI in Mooresville, and Jeff Merrifield, who is with the Shaw Group. Thank you all for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It's good to be here.
Good to be with you. So there's this idea of Charlotte as an energy hub. People have heard about it and they've read about it. What does that mean and what is it?
Well, I think really what happened is it grew out of a lot of the relationship with Duke and many of the other major utilities in the region. Southern Company, which is down in Georgia, Dominion, Progress Energy, and there were companies like ours, EPC company, we build power plants, Siemens, which builds equipment, Dave's company, General Microcircuits, which does supply for a lot of the energy infrastructure. And that became to come together here in Charlotte because we wanted to be close to Duke, we wanted to be in the southeast where there was a lot of energy growth. And so about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a recognition, in part by Jim Rogers, that there was really something going on here. We brought together a variety of energy leaders and said, hey, let's really get a sense of what's going on. That subsequently led to a study conducted of the area. Where do we stand regionally and nationally on those energy issues? And we recognize that, in fact, Charlotte is a major hub of energy jobs right now. About 200 companies, 20,000 employees in the greater Charlotte region. And it's exciting, and a lot of companies are coming here each and every week, and new announcements are a really great thing.
The other thing is it's so exciting to be a part of the Charlotte region. I mean, everyone wants to come to Charlotte. I mean, it's a great place to live. The climate is excellent. You know, right now they say the unemployment is relatively high, but the reason I think a lot of that is because people are being attracted here. The other thing is there is a great workforce here, and there's a great can-do attitude. A lot of our employees or associates used to be in the textile industry. And right now in Mooresville, which is just north of Charlotte, there's not a single textile job left in the city of Mooresville. But what we've been able to do is we've been able to transfer a lot of that skill and that talent and move it into the advanced electronic manufacturing. And so, first of all, we got a great group of people here, and they really want to learn, and they're willing to make that transfer.
There's a learning thing that's important as well. You know, when we came here back in 2004, we had a handful of people. And Shaw today in Uptown has about 1,100 people who work for the company. Those jobs average around $70,000 a year. They are principally white-collar jobs, really ability to attract that highly skilled engineering workforce here. What drove that? A lot of things Dave talked about: a great place to live, a great work environment, a great community, great leadership of government that's engaged in wanting to help us out, both at the city level as well as at the state level. And then educational institutions. I mean, I have been very impressed by the degree to which both the state through UNC Charlotte and through Central Piedmont have engaged with the energy community to be really responsive to the needs of training that future workforce. I was very pleased to have been part of a group of people that went out and lobbied our government here in North Carolina to build the Energy Production Infrastructure Center at UNC Charlotte. It's a $70 million investment by the state of North Carolina to create the energy training for engineers to be in the workforce here. That opens up later this month. Just a terrific gem of a facility for this area. Similarly, Tony Zeiss and the folks over at Central Piedmont have made major investments in welding technologies, non-destructive examination, engaging with the energy companies here in the Charlotte region to say, what do you need? How can we help you solve those issues? So it makes it very easy for us to engage with those institutions. That's why I think a lot of companies are also interested in coming here to Charlotte.
Yeah, sure.
What I was going to say is many people ask, you know, why Charlotte of all places? Well, in the energy sector, there's basically 4 segments. You have generation, you have transmission, you have measurement, and you have consumption. The interesting thing about the Charlotte is we have key leading industries that are in all 4 of those segments. And then if you expand in that, as the E4 Carolinas is doing, we're not just looking at Charlotte. We see Charlotte as the hub. And then basically if you branch it out to the Carolinas, you basically have Raleigh, you have the I-85 corridor, you have 77, you have all the educational institutions. Of course, Raleigh, as we know, is kind of the smart grid capital. There's also some significant lighting organizations that are using the newer lighting technologies that are along the corridors of 77 and 85. Of course, we know Cree, Hubble is just south of here. You've got Itron, you've got Census, you have Elster. A lot of those companies are outside of Charlotte, but there's an opportunity for us to build on each other's relationships. And of course, as we all know, an energy cluster is really responsible that you have a defined geographic region, but you've got this group of companies that have a common goal or a common interest. And so, of course, as you build on that, you're able to collaborate with one another. And that's one of the great things. We're a service provider. But what we've been able to do is we've been able to connect the dots within our customer base, introduce them, and now they're collaborating on more new, innovative products.
Well, I think, just to add, part of the connection here, I talked about Jim Rogers bringing together a group of energy leaders. That led to a study, and McKinsey & Company, give them a lot of credit for doing that on a voluntary, no-cost basis. Did this study, did this analysis, and what came out of it was a recommendation of which Dave spoke, and that is that we need to come together with an organization, and this was launched, Dave and I are both on the board of that. It's called E4 Carolinas, and it's a recognition that industry, educational institutions, governments, other interested participants coming together under one collaborative organization that uses Charlotte as its base, but reaches out from Raleigh down into Greenville and down into Columbia to really bring together all of these energy players into one organization to articulate workforce training, energy policy, bringing together government industry interaction. A great launching pad for building this energy capital even larger. And I think it's very exciting. We got a lot of companies which have come on board. I know you've been very supportive of us in helping launch that. It's really going to continue to put Charlotte on the map. And I think one of the things for me, as you know, I do a lot of travel. Each and every week I run up against people who come up to me and say, gee, what's going on with Charlotte? Do we need to be there? And fortunately for me, the answer is an enthusiastic yes.
So, to those who are out there maybe listening to this with a bit of a skeptical eye, you've talked about workforce development. You've talked about the presence of a major research university, UNC Charlotte, which is increasing its ability to churn out the type of worker that you need over the long term and to do research. But to the skeptics out there, I mean, how do you define the opportunity? How does this all translate into what most people are trying to figure out right now, which is jobs? Can you quantify what the opportunity is, not only for Charlotte but for the region?
Well, I'd use a couple of indicators. Students are smart. College kids are smart, and they go where they think they need to be for their jobs. This year, as you may have heard, UNC Charlotte had a 15% increase in freshman enrollment. What wasn't as noteworthy is the School of Engineering had a 40% increase in freshman entry-level folks, and the vast majority of those were targeted towards the energy arena. Students out there recognize Charlotte is a place where jobs can be found. I use an example, and I used it in a recent activity. As an executive in our company, I used to meet with a lot of our young people in the summertime, interns, cooperative students, and I'd go around the table, where'd you go to school and all that, and we had, 5 years ago, maybe one person was from UNC Charlotte. This summer, same organization of group went around the table, but almost half of the hands were folks who were from UNC Charlotte, who were interns or cooperative students. So they've made the investment, the state has made the investment in that institution. We as companies are making the investment in terms of bringing those people in. So you see it at that level. The other thing, and I think Dave spoke very well about, is it's multi-layered. It's not just Duke, it's not just the companies that build power plants. It's suppliers of parts and pieces. It's suppliers of solar energy technologies, smart grid technologies. And so we really do cover the gamut here in Charlotte so that people recognize you can make deals here in Charlotte. The people who you want to talk to are here, and that's why increasingly we see more and more companies coming to locate here.
Well, the other thing is Central Piedmont Community College has been very, very proactive. They're not just sitting back and waiting. They're actually reaching out, forming those relationships with the Siemens and the other organizations we have here. And they're basically retraining a workforce that we have existing. And I think it's one of the reasons why we have so many folks that are moving. I think I saw a statistic somewhere that U-Haul, we're the #1 destination for U-Hauls. they end up coming here.
It tells you something.
And I think every year, I think we have 47,000 new folks moving into the Charlotte area. And we're doing a great job of, I think, job development. But, you know, when you have folks moving from the north and from the Midwest and also from California, a lot of folks are coming. And the good news is we are attracting a lot of talent. And of course, I think a lot of businesses are seeing that. And so they say, you know, we need to go where the skill level, talent level is. We're a service provider. We don't have our own products. We rely on our customers to go out there and sell. And so when they come here to visit us and possibly decide that we're going to be their manufacturer of choice, they look here to see the skill set. But more importantly, they want to make sure that there is a group of companies and employees here that can do the work. And that's what they're seeing.
You mentioned Duke at the beginning.
Yeah.
As one of the catalyst organizations, and Jim Rogers specifically is one of the folks that convened the energy sector in the area. How important is the Duke Progress merger in terms of leveraging this whole idea of an energy cluster?
Well, I think it's truly important because you have now, you know, the largest utility in the country and the second largest utility in the world in terms of total generation. I mean, that brings with it a recognition by suppliers, by people who want to make sure that they can be in front of Duke. I want to be where they are. You know, it's sort of like Detroit of old. All the parts suppliers wanted to be with Ford and GM and Chrysler, and that's what we're finding here. That the reason we came here was because Duke is here, and we're leveraging that with the relationships we have with Duke. We're using Charlotte as a platform to project that both domestically and internationally. I think others are finding the same thing.
The other thing is there's a roadmap for successful clusters, and the first thing is you have that one company that basically stands up and says it's our time. And in 2008, Duke did that. We all know that the financial industries had a little bit of struggle here. And fortunately, Jim Rogers and Duke stepped up. Well, that's the first step. And then what happens when they do that? Then, as you were saying, they attract these other companies from all over the country. And of course, the nuclear here is very, very strong. Folks have increased here. And they're not only have they built to their staff, but ones have been attracted here. And then after that happens, then you start seeing the innovation because you see the collaboration. We all know about Silicon Valley. They went through that same procedure. Research Triangle Park did the exact same thing. So there's a step by step. And so basically, you get this group together and everybody's able to collaborate. And I think what the best thing about Charlotte is that we have that can-do attitude. And that's the thing I think that makes us so different. We also see with NASCAR. We see what happened with NASCAR. They did the same thing up north here. Yeah. The other thing is not necessarily a cluster, but it's a great example. Lowe's moved its headquarters into Mooresville, North Carolina. It is amazing the number of businesses that have come to support and supply there. And so it's amazing, an economic generator. And if you take a look at the energy sector and all those four segments that I had mentioned earlier, there's a plethora of opportunities for the Charlotte region.
I jump on a couple of things he said. You know, I know you guys are North Carolina and Charlotte natives. I'm a new guy, right? I came here 5 years ago.
5 more years, we'll treat you as a native.
I'm very involved with the Chamber, involved with UNC Charlotte, CPCC, E4 Carolinas. The degree to which this city welcomes people from the outside quickly and embraces them is an enormous strength and brings us forward. You know, other cities, you know, you gotta put in your 10 or 15 years before they'll even talk to you. That's not. You're exactly right. It's a can-do attitude, and then the other thing is, you know, in terms of bringing people in here. You bring someone down from the north, you take them around the Lakes region, you take them around the city, they look, wow, this city really has a lot to offer. This is a livable city. You know, I always say any city you can get a hot dog at 2 a.m. is a place that's got a lot going on, and you can do that here. We can attract great people to Charlotte, and because there's enough other businesses who we compete with, you know, there's opportunities. People may not want to always work for the competitor, maybe they want to work for us. There's movement back and forth. That's healthy. That helps to generate that energy hub, and you know, I think Jim Rogers recognized the snowball was going down the hill, and it's just been going faster and further ever since.
Any conversation you have, you cannot also forget to mention the Charlotte Airport. International Airport is unbelievable. All the connections that it makes for us. I know you fly a ton,
Absolutely.
And you have a lot of direct flights.
Yep.
And if you lived, and I know we had Chiquita just came, and one of the main reasons they came is because they couldn't get direct flights to where they needed to go, and that is very expensive, and you need the convenience. And the airport is just such. Our business has grown because of the airport.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, I tell you what, it's exciting to see the opportunities ahead of us. Thank you both for what you're doing to help build this energy cluster and to help us become known across the world as an energy capital. Thank you, Jeff Merrifield. Also, thank you, Dave Dalton. This is Anthony Foxx, and thank you for joining us with The Point.